The ebbs and the flows of that one. Looked like the Rams might run away with it early. Then the Bengals had all the momentum. But in the end, it came down to something Bryant McFadden talked about all 6 hours of the pregame show. And you've talked about it a lot this week as well. The Bengals offensive line against Aaron Donald, Von Miller, and that pass rush. 7 sacks in this game, and it was Aaron Donald who made the game-winning play.
Hey, my bold prediction earlier today was 10 sacks. They were almost there.
Well, almost isn't any good. You didn't get it. It was close. You didn't get it.
Why are you just trying to rain on my parade? Because I was more right than you were.
It calls. No, I had the Bengals cover, and you didn't.
Like I was saying, that was my bold prediction because I felt like they would have issues. They've been bad the entire year. And, yes, Joe Burrow held the ball long in certain situations. But could you blame him? Because he didn't have any confidence that his line can do what they're supposed to do. And I understand you look at Matthew Stafford, look at Cooper Kupp, losing OBJ, but their offense never got into the rhythm that we thought we would see. And while they were trying to get things going, it was the defense. It was the defense that prevailed in this ball game that ultimately led to the Rams being able to win.
It was weird because through the course of the first half, there wasn't a ton of pressure on Joe Burrow.
Yes, yeah.
Remember, he had 5 sacks, I think, in the first 3 possessions of the second half. And so they were actually getting the ball out. But even then, you could see his clock was sped up. He'd take the snap, and he knew he just didn't look like the same calm, cool guy because he knew Aaron Donald and those guys were going to get after him. That's one thing the Bengals have to do is address that offensive line. Adeniji at right guard is awful. The tackle is a backup, though. Let's face it, they did address the offensive line. Riley Reif was the right tackle. He got hurt.
Yep.
Then he put Prince in. He's a backup. The center isn't any good. They have all kinds of issues. They need to fix the offensive line. Once they fix the offensive line, they'll be okay.
Let's be honest. Cooper Kupp, MVP. But the difference in this game was that Rams defensive line. Now, maybe if Aaron Donald would have been granted a 3rd sack for that last play, maybe he gets it. But Cooper Kupp, listen, you can't argue too much with it because, yes, he made the big plays when it mattered. He caught 2 touchdown passes. He had that 4th down and 1 run to keep the drive alive and avoid sending it back to the Bengals in the red zone late in that game. But it's not often a guy wins Super Bowl MVP when he doesn't even reach his prop for the game, which was, 104.5 receiving yards, did not get there.
Yeah.
And for most of the game, they did a pretty good job on him until that last drive. There were a couple plays where he hit some shots. I think once Beckham went out, it hurt him in a big way. Because then all of a sudden you have one guy you really have to worry about. One blue chipper that you have to worry about. That hurt him until the final drive when he did get it going. Look, it's a great story. I mean, he's a 3rd-round pick. They didn't think he'd be this kind of player. He turned himself into this kind of player. He's one of the great route runners that we've ever seen. And I'm talking about going back years and years to guys like Henry Ellard, Isaac Bruce, even Keenan McCardell, guys that I've seen with my own eyes who were great route runners. And he's outstanding at running routes, and that's the difference. And you got to give him credit. He made the plays when he had to make the plays, and he made the biggest play in terms of the offense.
Yeah, I think the defining moment for Cooper Kupp was the last drive. Like you talked about converting the 4th down. They couldn't run the football against Cincinnati. Cam Akers, Henderson, it didn't matter. Sony Michel, they couldn't do anything. They were one-dimensional because Cincinnati made them one-dimensional. In a 4th and 1 situation, instead of relying on one of your running backs, they relied on Cooper Kupp. He made a man miss, was able to convert that 4th down, and that entire drive was all about Cooper Kupp. Similar to a drive I was a part of in Tampa against the Arizona Cardinals. Remember, it was all about Santonio Holmes. Yeah. Big Ben being able to rely on Santonio Holmes, who came through in the clutch and also won MVP in that Super Bowl. It was the same thing that we saw in that game-winning drive for the Rams. Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, he delivered, and he won the MVP. You know what I mean? But me personally, there is an argument you can make for one of those pass rushers.
I would have made Aaron Donald my MVP.
Aaron Donald, Von Miller, because when the offense was a bit stagnant, guess who kept them in flow of the ball game? The defense. Like you said, in the first half, didn't really put pressure on Joe. In the second half, whatever adjustments they made, it was successful. And Aaron Donald, Von Miller, not just about the sacks, what about the quarterback hits? What about when they forced Joe Burrow off his target point and made things uncomfortable for him? You can make a case for either one of those guys, in my opinion.
That was a great point B-Mac made about getting to the quarterback when the offense was sputtering. there was a point in that game,
Oh my goodness,
late in the third, where the Rams went 3 straight drives, 3 and out.
Yes.
And the game could have gotten away from him at that point. But the defense kept getting to Joe Burrow and giving the ball back to that offense.
You know, we go back to that little sequence there. Remember, there was the touchdown on the controversial play because that was a face mask on Higgins. Should have been called back. Long touchdown. They take the lead, and then they get the turnover right away. You know, Awuzie got the pick in your point-blank range. You got to go get a touchdown. You get a touchdown there, that game might be over.
Yep.
Then they had a big sack on that drive. Remember, they pushed them back.
Yep.
They had a sack by Donald. So I think that defense really won the game. Here's the other thing about this game that bothers me. The coaching was awful.
Especially Zach Taylor.
I mean, well, so was Sean McVay.
Yeah, but he won. He gets a pass.
Yeah,
but Zach
no, you don't
Taylor,
get a pass. Third down
It
play.
doesn't matter if you get the ring. I mean,
Yes, Pete.
Well, it matters in my book because I pick them all apart. Third down play, you run Philly special. I mean, come on, give me a break.
He didn't believe in the running backs.
And his running game, which he insisted on trying to pound and pound and pound, wasn't working. And then Zach Taylor had his fair share of
So
mistakes.
what was the Zach Taylor issues that you had?
Me personally, it's 4th and 1. You need 1 yard.
The last big play there.
You're in a shotgun formation. We know you're throwing the football. We talked about it. You guys have talked about it. They couldn't protect your quarterback. It's one. You got to get 1 yard.
I didn't like the third.
shotgun?
I didn't like the 3rd and 1 call. If you're going to throw it on 3rd and 1, not on 4th and 1.
Exactly. Like,
I didn't
you
like
got
that
to
at
find
all.
the ways to be creative or understand. Don't make the game more difficult than what it is.
Well, they didn't have any timeouts left, so maybe they were concerned a little bit about that.
What if you didn't? Pete, what did
Why
you
they run on third down? I agree. I would have done that. I didn't like that at all. I didn't like those calls at all. And I thought, you know, look, Zach Taylor made the timeout at the end of the half. He gave him. There might have been an opportunity to go get a field goal.
Yeah.
It was just. It wasn't a smooth
and also,
game. It wasn't a
one
smooth
thing
game for a lot of people. By the way,
let's keep it real. Joe Mixon, when given the opportunities, was productive.
Yeah, he was better than a lot of us thought.
They took Joe Mixon out of the game by themselves because they didn't give him the football. I know he finished around 15 carries, 70, almost 80 yards, a pretty good average per carry. But they didn't rely on him. He can be a closer for them.
Well, they had the ball with up 4, and remember, Boyd dropped the slant.
Yep.
I don't know if he would have got the first down anyways, but that was a big play there as well. He dropped that slant. Maybe he makes the guy miss, and he falls forward for the first down. You go get some points there, and it's a different game.
How about Matthew Stafford? It started off hot. I think he was 10 for his first 12, a couple of touchdowns. Then he went through a stretch where he went 2 for 8 with 2 interceptions. But he was able to find a way on that last drive to get it done.
He got a little jumpy, I thought.
Yes,
I think he started pressing. It was almost like we were seeing some of the old Matt Stafford stuff. When things go bad for him, it tends to go bad in bunches, and it started doing that. But credit to him, though. He regrouped. I mean, you have to go drive your team to a go-ahead touchdown in the Super Bowl, and you do it on an 18-play drive. Now, there was a questionable hold on that play, on that drive. They would have had 4th and goal from the 8, and they called holding on Logan Wilson, which gave him a first down. That was a questionable
What did you guys
decision.
think of that call?
It was iffy.
It was
very
touchy.
iffy.
But my thing is this. They got away with one with T. Higgins in the face mask that was not called. When you watch that play, it can be accidental contact, whatever the case may be. That's a personal foul. So if Cincinnati, the Bengal fans want to cry, woof, and everything like that, John Breach and the crew, just understand, you got away with one, too. That was the first play out of the locker room.
Yeah.
After watching the halftime performance, the big show, they came out with their own big show, and we were like, oh, my goodness. And the thing, too, about Cincinnati, postseason play, they've been a second-half team. They were one of the best second-half teams in the postseason. And it was here they go again. So that was a questionable call that was called. But let's keep it real. They got away with one as well. And that right there, Pete, you know, I don't like that call, but they're going to call that.
Yeah, they put
more
their
than
hands
none.
on him. They'll put
they're
their
going to
hands
call
on
that
him.
more than none.
And he's kind of pulling them a little bit. You know, when you look at the game plan for the Bengals, and I talk about Joe Burrow being sped up, I would have tried more shots in those one. You know, it's 3 steps to get the ball down the field. Take a shot like they get hit. The one when they hit Higgins down the sideline. And granted, it was a penalty on that
early
play.
in the game with Jamar
You
Chase.
didn't get any go balls and any slant and goes. Down the sideline, get chased down the field. I didn't like their plan that much. I know they were fearful of that offensive line. I mean, it's a bad offensive line. The right side is the worst right side in the National Football League, period. And it's not close. And so they were worried about that.
How much of a what if is this going to be for Bengals fans? I know you've got Joe Burrow, and you're going to have your shots in the future as well. But Cincinnati, not known as a spending team, they might not be back. You never know. You never know. They went 2 times in the 80s, didn't win it, didn't go back for over 30 years.
And Pete, you're a historian of the game. When you get to this moment, you got to cash in because you don't know when you will be able to get to this moment. One of my favorite quarterbacks of all time, Dan Marino.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Got there early in his career. Many felt like because of the player he was, he definitely, worst case scenario, will get back a few more times. Didn't happen. You gotta cash in when you can cash in. And they could have won this ball game. They should have won this ball game. They were in position to win this ball game. They just had a few miscues here and there. But that's the unique thing about the Super Bowl. It's good on good. And if you don't have your best day on every opportunity you get out there, it could cause you to not win.
Plus, there's always a certain amount of luck involved in terms of injuries. You never know where you're going to get derailed by a bunch of injuries, and that can happen, that can factor in. But I'll say this, as long as you have that guy under center, you're going to be a factor.
Better protect him, though.
Yes.
You better protect him.
Well, they made a decision. They had a decision to make last year in the draft. Do you take Penei Sewell or do you take Jamar Chase? Well, they went and took Jamar Chase. It was the right decision.
Sure.
In fairness to them, they signed an unrestricted free agent at right tackle, Riley Reif, significantly better than Isaiah Prince. He got hurt. He had to play the backup.
They went all in, did the Rams, and they're cashing out tonight. Boy, it's all worth it. You get that one, everything is worth it. All those draft picks they gave up, all that money they spent. The L.A. Rams are world champions, winners of Super Bowl 56. For Pete Prisco, Bryant McFadden, I'm Chris Hassel. EK, back to you.
All right, here you go. Youngest head coaches to win. We now have a new record holder, right? It's been Mike Tomlin for a long time. He's won 2. But now we have 3 guys who are Super Bowl winning coaches in their 30s. And Sean McVay, by 8 months, is now the youngest ever. Congratulations to Sean McVay and the Rams.